You know, the thought keeps popping up. If George W. Bush had not given the wealthy the tax cuts that he did, if he had not ordered 2 unfunded wars, if he had not signed into law the unfunded Medicare prescription drug program, which was really designed to end Medicare, if he had not done any of that, you know what? We would have zero debt right now. Zero debt. Zero debt. And balanced budgets into the foreseeable future. So what the hell are Republican thugs talking about? What are these swine talking about? I'll give you something to think about here. This certainly has me thinking. I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I really don't. All of a sudden, there has been just a little dribble-drabble of reports leaking out. Here's one. Last month, the former White House counterterrorism czar, remember Richard Clark? He made headlines in the alternative press when he revealed that the CIA failed to pass on information that it knew about 2 of the alleged 9/11 hijackers living in the United States for over a year before the attacks. And it turns out that that failure didn't merely involve a couple of CIA analysts who didn't understand the importance of the information, but instead it went all the way up to former CIA Director George Tenet. Whoops, what does this mean? According to BoilingFrogsPost.com, the claim that the CIA knowingly and that the director of the CIA knowingly and purposely blocked the White House counterterrorism czar and high-level FBI officials from learning about known al-Qaeda agents living in the U.S. is, to say the least, profound in its implications, given that any interpretation of this assertion would necessarily mean that George Tenet and other CIA officials who blocked this information actually helped the alleged CIA attackers, and have now participated in a decade-long cover-up of their role. And then the question necessarily becomes, why did they do this? I mean, it pretty much, what Colleen Raleigh has reported, what now Richard Clark, the former counterterrorism head, the charges that are being made here, and see, the mainstream media apparently has been instructed not to touch these stories. Oh, that's a bunch of that 9/11 conspiratorial crap. Leave that alone. That's a career killer. Ugh. So Richard Clark is saying that George Tenet, all the way up to the head of the CIA, knew that 2 of ultimately the alleged hijackers were living in this country. Now, keep in mind, why do we start bombing Afghanistan? Because that's where these terrorists had been trained. But they were trained in Fort Lauderdale. They were trained in Milwaukee. They were trained in Fort Worth. Why didn't Bush order the bombing of Florida? Why didn't he order an assault by Marines on the state of Wisconsin? You see all the garbage here? Do you wonder why? See, 9/11 doubters, let's call them doubters. I'm in that category. 9/11 doubters, why we doubt the official story? I mean, at what point do you want to let it go and just say, oh, for Christ's sake, that was then, this is now? Are you serious? You want to let this story go? I don't think you do. Bob Alexander, who sent me the link to BoilingFrogsPost.com, said, I've always thought that when whoever did this felt threatened by any exposure, they'd trot out the nincompoop card. George W. Bush was president. Who wouldn't, deep down, believe that the Bushes were massively incompetent? Even diehard Republicans knew their guy was an idiot. They never admitted it, but they knew. So, what does that mean? Could it be that George W. Bush was the perfect patsy? The Lee Harvey Oswald of this? Could it be? Remember, Bush is on record blowing off the Bin Laden determined to strike in the U.S. memo. Remember that? So what if, I'm just tossing out, what if George W. Bush didn't have a clue? How many times did Dick Cheney make trips out to CIA headquarters? Bush never knew. Is it possible? Of course it is. Someone as incompetent and stupid as George W. Bush linked up with somebody as diabolical and classically evil as Dick Cheney? OMG, OMFG. I mean, think about it. Just, when you drift off to sleep tonight, just think about it. What if George W. Bush was the patsy? Oh, my.